and welcome to another episode of the Complete Agent podcast, where each week we talk all things estate agency. My name is David Warburton, as ever. I am joined by Ian Story and James Kendall. Lads, how's your week been? Let's go to you, JK.
Oh, me first again, 2 weeks in a row. What do I owe the pleasure?
Yeah, just get it out of the way, mate. I've got a bit of work to do, so while you're going on about your week for the next 40 minutes, I'll do a bit of work.
You do a bit of walk. Been a really good month for us, actually. Last week's been a really good week. 2 confirmed sales. We've got probably another 4 we're just working on at the moment with varying fees between 14 and 21 grand. So we're getting an absolutely phenomenal September, to be honest. It's been really, really good. I've pretty much got 2 sales in the bag. I hope this isn't the curse of the podcast, but I've got 2 properties we're doing viewings on at the weekend that have got literally 8 back-to-back viewings on both. So one person's already offered before viewing because they're that keen to get it. So there's 2 that should be in the bag there this weekend. Listings are a little bit lighter on at the moment, I'll be honest. We've been really struggling this last, I suppose, 3-4 days with all the floods. So I don't know if you saw the news, but Master Mortain hit the news with the dual carriageway that's flooded. So it's literally thrown the whole area into chaos. Got interviewed by BBC Three Counties Radio the other day, so I dropped that in there. And they're literally outside the front of the office at the cafe next door. And they said, does anyone want to do an interview? And I was like, yeah, 100%. And they were like, oh, what do you think to, the floods? How's it affected you? This, that, and the other. And I was really tempted to say, the floods are, really, really, really bad. But I've got a 3-bedroom detached house around the corner. So if you lived here, I didn't say that. But, got a bit of news commentary on there, which was good. A little bit of exposure. You never know. But no, to be fair, all round pretty good week. Exchanged on a nice big chain this week. One of the 2 that I've been waiting for a little while. That sort of double chain with best part of 40k. Got another one that's going to be best part of 45k that I'm hoping to exchange on today / tomorrow, which will be really, really good. So things moving in the right direction. Positive cash flow, positive at the moment. Just keeping that pipeline filled, and we just need to get probably some more instructions, but it's just been difficult. So many people have put off coming to the market this week because it's just been an absolute nightmare to get anywhere. But yeah, that's my week. What about you, Story?
A good steady week, chaps. Nothing, amazingly high or amazingly low really this week. Good steady week. 3 nice listings, a £1 million farmhouse, a 550 new build, and a 700 grand plot. Acre in a nice village needs knocking down, basically. So that's a good example of brand stretch. They're sort of 10 grand, 14 grand, and 20 grand fees, those 3. 3 good sales as well. So an 865 barn conversion. At one point,
I'm going to say, where's the barn conversion coming in this conversation? Because there's not enough barn going on here.
Yeah, Alamere Forest, beauty. A £1.5 million farm that Phil's done. Finally, the chain is connected below. We verbally agreed it 2 weeks ago. They were about to take that house off the market, give it to another agent, and Phil managed to get this offer agreed in principle from someone who couldn't proceed. So they gave the guy 4 weeks to sell. He sold 2 weeks in, which is great news because that's a 30 grand fee, and then a bungalow at 270. So another good brand stretch example there. Our new sales progressor Hannah started last Monday. So that's a sort of transition process currently where Michelle is handing over most of her cases. Not all of the ones. Some of the tricky ones she's keeping, or where she's got a really good relationship with the client she's keeping, but handing the majority over to Hannah. So Hannah's getting up to speed. Hannah used to work for a new build company, so although she's done sales chasing, obviously it's different to doing chasing as an agent. So she's doing really well. Hannah's doing really, really well, really, really bubbly, fits into the team really well. So that's good. We're now on street fully. We migrated over to street fully last week. So Aiden is buzzing. And I am really loving it compared to Rex. I think street's already much, much better. I'm loving the dashboards. JK, you taught me that last week in Manchester, setting up my dashboards. Widgets, I think they're called.
Would you say it's streets ahead?
It's streets ahead, if Heather's listening. And then on a serious note, we have got quite a few second viewings booked. So it feels like things are better than they were. Higher end, definitely harder, definitely still harder. Yeah. But then when they happen, they're brilliant, aren't they? I mean, when they happen, they're brilliant. We had one complete 3 weeks ago, 32 grand fee. We've got another one completing next week, 30 grand fee. When they happen, they are epic, but it's just more management of the client involved. But all round, chaps, I would say it's pretty good. We've had a good September. All good from my end, chaps.
Paddy?
What?
Paddy McGuinness.
Paddy McGuinness. Good week. Thank you. We've got plenty going on. I mean, it's been a bit of a mental week for me, actually. I've got so many valuations and take-ons at the moment. I'm trying to squeeze people in. I can't get a valuation in for like 2 weeks at the minute. And I've just been instructed on a 1.25 million farmhouse last night. I've just had a text this morning for a 1.6 million pound beauty over in Prestwich near me, which is really nice. We're doing a £1 million on Friday. There's just loads going on. I've got some really great valuations. Really struggling with one sale at the minute. Not a faller. It's like trying to get it over the line, just agreed, because the buyer and seller are at odds about reservation agreements and exchange dates, and then there's a bit of compliance trying to get that sorted. So that's been quite frustrating. But I'm probably in one of my busiest periods of the year. I would say, in terms of valuations and instructions. It's been pretty good all year, but September has been insane. And there's no let up. I'm just looking at my diary now for the next couple of weeks, and it is extremely busy. So I can't complain. All good. I think the market feels better. It's up. I don't know about you guys, but it feels up and down. We had that sort of period after the interest rate drop where things started to not so much go mental, but it was very, very busy. And it started, some houses that were sticking all of a sudden started to get a lot of interest. We tied up a few offers. And then, I don't know, just this last couple of weeks, it feels like it might have dropped off a little bit. So we're still extremely busy. But I did, one good example, we did a major reduction on one property that I thought would get it into the realms of, right, we're probably going to have 5 or 6 viewings in the first 24, 48 hours here. It's had one. I just thought, wow. And it's on at a crazy good price now. And maybe it's just timing. It will pick up towards the end of the week and into next week. But it just feels like up and down, you can't call it. And that's kind of what I'm talking to people on valuations about at the moment. Obviously data valuations, pound per square foot. This is where you think your property sits and all that. But this is where we're at the moment in terms of where the market's going. Yes, there's been a lot more buoyancy. All the data points look good from Rightmove. We think the next sort of quarter and going into next year are going to be really strong. But the reality is we're not 100% sure. So be keen with your pricing. But yeah, pretty good lads across the board. Both brands have had some good valuations. I've got lots of instructions coming on, quite a few in photography. I'm going to be launching a couple of really good ones as well in the next 3 days. So plenty going on. All good.
Can I just say on the upper end, actually, something that is kind of flown under the radar today is because I just checked the news quickly while you were talking there, Dave. Halifax have dropped their rates today on the larger home loans. So for the upper end of the market, they've dropped some of their products by 0.3%.
Interesting.
Which is massive. Massive. It's not even in the news.
Yeah. Well,
where did you see that, JK? That's a good thing to send to clients, that.
One of my mortgage contacts sent it to me. So ironically, not the guy I refer to, another guy I know said to me, because I tend to send more upper end stuff to him.
Yeah.
And he texted me and said, just FYI, might be some good info for you. But the Halifax are dropping rates today by 0.3% on the large home loans. Which I think is pretty significant because if you think someone's borrowing, the house I've about to tie up this week, the guy's taken £1 million mortgage, and 0.3% at £1 million is a lot of money.
Yeah, huge.
Makes a massive difference per month. Just to touch on quickly as well, Dave, just before we move on, what I find interesting, and again the risk of sounding like a broken record. It's all about price, and I think we went over this at the mastermind with people. people saying that they're not getting enough sales. I've spoken to a couple of people this week that are going to be joining TCA very soon. One of the things challenges they had was, again, not enough sales. They're not getting enough listings, and so which means in turn they're not getting enough valuations, which is why the letters appeal. But I said, what's another challenge of yours? And they said, we're just not getting enough sales.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of it always boils down to price. And you've said it before, Dave, about even your average agent can put a house on the market with average marketing, and if the price is completely out of bounds, then it's not going to get any interest. If the price is there or thereabouts, there's an argument to be said that if it's marketed really well and negotiated well, yes, you're going to end up more, which is why you pay an agent like us a lot more money to sell. But the price has got to be right. And one of the things been saying to people is that we don't set your price, the market sets your price. And if your house is on the market and people aren't viewing it, the market doesn't agree with your price. So it's going back to that positioning where on the valuation, quote unquote, whatever you want to call it, you're setting the expectation that it's you and your client against the market, not you versus your client. And then in turn, by saying the market doesn't agree with your price, and it's just nice to be able. So, for example, one of the houses this week, the data said 1.1. I thought that's a little bit conservative. I thought offers over 1.25. We had 10 viewings last weekend at offers over 1.25, and we had 2 competing buyers at 1.4, both in the same position.
Amazing.
And that's just, and again, the seller's delighted. I've had to disappoint someone, but there are buyers out there for the right price. So if the price is right, people will come.
Yeah.
And I'm using your line at the moment a lot, Dave. Again, you talk about practicing and repeating these lines, but the offers over strategy works best when we take you out of your comfort zone a bit. I use that all the time. And this house that I've got 10 viewings on this weekend, the target by the client is we want to achieve a minimum of 500,000. I've said we need to price offers over 475 to get the interest to get there. Takes you out of your comfort zone, gets you on a price band. Unfortunately, we didn't manage to get it on a price band, so we had to do offers over 485 because there's 3 executors. The guy I'm dealing with fully on board, 2 others aren't. We've already had pretty much 500 offered over the phone from somebody that's desperate to view it. So at the weekend now, we've got 10 back-to-back viewings. We're going to get an amazing result. And I just think, if you're out there and you're struggling for sales at the moment, look at the pricing, and again, I sound like a broken record and I pull my head out of your backside, Dave. But another thing that you say, if the price comes down and the market and no one comes to view it, what does that tell you? It's always the market, not the marketing. We can't market you any better. An estate agent can control 3 things. But honestly, we laugh and we jest because, we're all pals and we're in this together. But at the same time, these are all things that, all of us say and articulate to clients. And there's bits I pick up off your story. There's bits I pick up of you, Dave. And I'm just using them in the business daily, and getting the price right is just so key, because that's what's unlocking your sales. And have conversations with people and say, look, for example, I've got one I'm reducing today. It was on at 950 with another agent. I took on at 850, and he's gone, you said 850. I said, well, actually, I didn't say 850. I said, what we need to do is try 850. And if 850 doesn't work, then we need to look at whatever plan B or plan C is. So today we're having a conversation where we're going to go offers over 8, and we're going to see how the market reacts. And I suspect we'll probably end up selling it.
I think it's the really good points, and it's worth just recapping on what we actually said about that. And you've just articulated it very well. But I think there'll be a lot of people, and I've seen people post in the group quite recently about having sticky stock. So you've got to have these uncomfortable conversations with clients, but have them with authority. It's really important that you do that, because you are the expert, and providing that you have done everything right, that all your marketing is spot on, and you've done what you said you were going to do, and it's in all the right areas. We know it's only ever a market issue. It's not going to be the marketing. So just to recap on a couple of those phrases, because we've always talked about these light bulb moments that will enable your clients to completely understand and make informed decisions. And I'll share an example I've had this week. So there's a few things. I always think, and I'm transparent with the owner, I don't think an owner knows what they will take until it's real, until they actually get an offer. And I tell the owner that. And I use my own experiences as an example, both as a buyer and as a seller. I paid more for my house than I wanted to. I'm currently selling a buy-to-let property that I've got less than I wanted for it. And, I've set out thinking, if I get X for it, that's what I'll sell it for. I'm selling it for a bit less. So, it's just fact. It's happened so many times over the years. Taking somebody outside the comfort zone. So when you use that, when you use those words, it settles them down a little bit, because it shows you've got a plan. So if someone's on a 550,000 and they want to achieve 525, John, I've got a strategy that I want to run by you. Now, what it involves is taking you outside your comfort zone a little bit and dropping the price to offers over 500,000. Now, before you say anything, John, I know you don't want to achieve 500,000. I know that is too low. It's just a marketing strategy, and you will be well outside your comfort zone. But on the flip side, if you are outside your comfort zone, what the buyers are seeing is opportunity, and it will bring them to the door. And if it doesn't bring them to the door, it tells its own story. It was probably never worth 550. And remember what I've always said, John, it's a market valuation, not my valuation. So see it just as a marketing strategy. And if you're getting offered, if people are making offers that you don't want to accept, you just say no. And by the way, John, you will get lower offers. People always want to take a chance. You'll put out offers over 500 and somebody will offer you 485. That's okay. We'll just get rid of them. What we're looking for is the buyer that is willing to take it all the way up to 525. Now, John, if they don't, and we're only getting offered 5 at 10 and 515, that tells its own story, and you might have a decision to make. But that's what I want to enable you to have, a decision to make. At the moment, you've not got one. So let's try and get more people through the door. So I think it's a really important way of getting it across. You're outside your comfort zone, and it looks like a bit of a deal on the other side for the buyer. What it's also going to do is open it up to a new pricing bracket, and it'll get everybody with a maximum budget of 500,000 seeing your property. And I hear you, John. I know you don't want to sell it for £500,000, but if a person with a maximum budget of £500,000 walks through your door and loves it, falls in love with it, it's their dream property, I promise you, they will be able to find £25,000, whether they have to borrow it from friends or family, or whether they have to extend their mortgage term, or whether they have to add £25,000 to their 30-year mortgage, which will be the equivalent of about £50 a month. It is well worth considering this strategy. And it's as soon as you go in with that and you are resonating with what they say, they just get it and they calm down a little bit. And it comes back to their why. And I've used those figures because I've had exactly that this week. And the gentleman was on with 2 other agents previously at 625. It wasn't selling, and all the data suggests that 550 is probably the top end, actually. So he's been considerably overvalued in the first place, and I've mentioned him before, but this is the guy who needs to go to Australia. He's going to Australia. His wife is already there. He is here with his daughter, and they've got a hard stop date. They're going. He's gone through all the figures. We talked about, well, if it doesn't sell at around this kind of level, you could rent it for 12 months, and then we'll see how the market goes. We had that conversation the other day. He's gone back to the drawing board and he said, Dave, these rental figures, whilst we can do it, it doesn't work. I'll still be paying out and I'll be in Australia. I'll be away from the property. I'd just rather get this gone. And then what he's done is he said, so bear in mind, I've gone round and 550 is his bottom line. He then came to me and said, do you know what? If an offer came in at 525, I think we'd take it. So, right, okay, on the basis that a vendor doesn't know what they'll accept until it's real. I said, right, okay, no problem. That changes everything once again. You might want to take yourself even further outside your comfort zone, Chris. Have you considered offers over 5? Let me explain. So I've just told him exactly what I've just told you guys. And he said, right, let me go away and talk to my wife. We've talked about it. Yes, let's do it. We'll do offers over 5. We want 525. And then he came up with a load of other things, but I want a reservation agreement signing, non-refundable deposit, and it's got to exchange in 28 days. I'm saying, look, all this is possible, but let's not put barriers to entry up. Let's get people through the door, first of all, and let's see what we're dealing with. And if you get somebody who's perfect, then we can talk about all that then. But what we don't want to do is stop people coming through the door when you need to move to Australia in 4 weeks. So we've just done it. And then last night we got our first viewing request on it from a guy who's nothing to sell, seems really keen.
Oh, nice.
And he's all of a sudden, out of nowhere, Chris said to me last night, Dave, honestly, if we get anything around 500, I'm taking it. It's just, it's like, right. So this is, and you'll get some people, like on the flip side, I had sort of a conversation with two people this week. One's on at 1.45 million. It probably needs to be closer to 1.2. And that was my original valuation. He has to sell that property at some point. He's motivated. That's why I've taken the listing. But he's not motivated right now. We've had that conversation. He said, I'm happy to sit for the time being. Got no immediate plans. So happy with everything you're doing. We've had a steady stream of viewings. It's not happening for us now.
Talk me through how you found things so far since you've been a member of the group and what sort of value you found from it.
Really informative from day one, really hands-on. You guys clearly know your stuff, you're speaking from experience. You've done what you're telling us to do.
So for anyone who was thinking of joining a complete agent, what would you say?
Don't hesitate. If you want to be successful, you have to invest in yourself. I think the value is definitely up there.
Happy with everything you're doing. We've had a steady stream of viewings. It's not happening for us now. We'll stick. No problem at all. Eventually that will sell. Same with another couple at 600,000. They don't want to do it. But everybody's got a number. And if they don't, it's probably not the right time. And maybe even if you've invested a bit of time and money in it, Ian, you do this quite a lot, which I like, the conversation might be different. It might be a bit more ballsy, but you might be saying, why don't you take a bit of time off the market? Have 3 months off the market. We'll relist it in the new year or in the spring. You've got a better chance of selling because the weather will be great. We think the market will have moved on a little bit by then. You'll have had a break. You'll be coming on fresh. You'll perhaps do some more photographs and you've got a better chance. It's all about the why. And it's all about how you position it. If you go on the phone or go and visit the client with fear about the reduction because you're asking them, and you've already done 1 or 2 reductions, then you're probably going to come away with a poor result where they want to leave to another agent, or they're giving you a bit of crap for asking them to do this again. It's how you structure it, and you're there to help. You're there to work together to try and get the right result. It's not you versus the client. It's like you said, JK, in the past. It's you and the client versus the market. And I think that it's a lot of the time, like I say, practice, but this will put you in a much better position to secure more sales. You've got to learn and have a strategy for securing price realignments.
Yeah, and also for going on at the right price. We've got one that's coming on. I did a live on it the other day. Lovely modern house, like really lovely modern house. Amazing landscape garden. She's a landscape designer. The data says it's 1.45 to 1.5. They wanted a bit more than that. So we agreed, I said, let's go on offers of a 1.5. The data says 1.45 to 1.5. So if it doesn't sell that kind of level, I sort of framed it correctly from the start, presented all the data. We went through the shoot. She said, we really want to get 1.5 after we've paid fees because we've seen this house that we want to buy. I said, well, maybe you will. I said, maybe you will. But what she was getting at was going on for more than 1.5 to try and recoup, that oldest trick in the book, oldest question in the book. So I went through it with her and I sat down and I said, it's us versus the market, which is the line that I picked up from you. It's not about you versus me. It's us versus the market. And anyway, I got them to agree to go on at offers of 1.5. Then she called me the next day to say next door neighbour's having some photographs done. These houses are identical houses to each other. So basically they were the same house when they were built, slightly different interiors, but basically the same house. And next door went on yesterday at 1.5. So I thought that's brilliant. Lovely. Because it just shows that what we're saying is right, and it really helps. But just another one on price before we get stuck in. There was a barn conversion. One of the ones I've just sold. It was on with another agent before. Was at 995. Data says it's just over 9 on a good day, but the clients are moving abroad, so they were desperate to sell because they have to be abroad in 2 months. They have to be gone, so they want it sold. So we agreed to go on offer 800. Quite a sort of bold move. They were happy to take a bit less for it than it was maybe worth just to get it sold. Anyway, we've agreed to sell at 865 today because competitive price. We had 2 people, one who they both wanted it, but one could afford to pay more, and we've got 865. So sellers over the moon, buyers over the moon. Price.
100% in this market. I've got a dead quick one as well before we go on. Just, I think this is a good one though for anybody potentially taking on a listing or struggling with stuff. And Ian, you've done something similar where you've relaunched without land and stuff like that. I've got one that's coming on. I got the instruction on it last night. It's currently on the market at 1.6 million with about 16 acres of land and barns and things like that. And it's not really getting anywhere. The marketing's really bang average. And just again, this was when I went to see them. They've seen all our stuff on socials. They follow us. They love our stuff, and it's you almost there's no battle at all once you get through the door because they just want to use you anyway. But when it came to the fee, he was like, "Oof, that's a lot more." I said, "Well, I know it is, but you've seen what we do. Da 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 da. It's value, etc." And he said, "I'm paying £5,000 plus VAT at the moment." For a £1.6 million house, and I was like, "Yeah," and you've not had a single viewing, you've not got a video, you've not got this, that, the other. And to be quite honest with you, that agent has no marketing budget. They simply cannot market your home when you're paying them £5,000 plus VAT. So that was the first thing. But it was like he was laughing, going, "I know, I get it. I've seen your stuff. I know it's not going to be as cheap, etc." But anyway. What we discussed was, we looked at it, I had a wander around the grounds, wander around the stables, all that sort of stuff, and they're on at 1.6. I said, there's a lot of land here, and, you're very much targeting certain type of market, and they've landscaped all the garden. It's like an Instagram garden, where the garden, with a hot tub and everything, beautiful. And the house itself is immaculate.
Beautiful language, Patrick.
Beautiful. It's absolutely beautiful. Sounded like Bernard Matthews then, talking about his turkey, his turkey burgers. Do you remember those adverts? Oh, anyway, I'll go off.
You sounded like Peter Kay because in Phoenix Nights, Paddy,
get that cooker on.
He does actually say beautiful language, Patrick.
Beautiful.
Fan. Tom McGee's a fan of Phoenix Nights. I know that. Hello, Tom. Big shout out to Tom.
I love Phoenix Nights. Great. It was actually filmed where I grew up, guys.
Yeah, was it?
No way. That really surprises me.
I went in the curry house that features on Phoenix Nights just 2 weeks ago. The Conservative Club where they filmed it all, not far from where I grew up. Anyway,
really cool story. Can you tell that?
Great story.
Great story, yeah.
If anybody wants to hear more, just give me a call. I'll give you my number out on this podcast. Loads of stuff about that.
Man, the tumbleweeds is going past. Okay, carry on.
Anyway, so we'd had a wander around these grounds, and it's on at 1.6, bear in mind. So the conversation we've had is, what are your plans with it all? And he said, well, to be honest with you, we've got horses. We could keep some of the land. And I said, right, okay. So what I would suggest we do here is we go on at a lower price that's very attractive, and we talk about half the acreage and show what we want to sell, but we don't split the title just yet. So we're going to advertise the property at 1.25 million with this incredible garden, 8 acres of land, double garage, 1 stable with loads of potential. And all of a sudden now it's going to appeal to some really, somebody who's got means, to be fair, a wealthy family, but it's a different target market. Now, I think we'll get viewings at that level, 1.25. It's a huge reduction, and again, a little bit outside their comfort zone. But the feeling there is we're going to get interest, and when they get there, we can say, well, actually, there is another 8 acres over there with a menage and stables and da-da-da, and it is available if you want it. And how much is it available for? Well, it's another 250,000. So we'll get to close to where they want to be, which is exactly where they want to be. If they don't want it, the family are quite happy to keep the menage and stables because they've got horses, and they'll either develop it in the future, or they'll just continue to use it. So I just think sometimes you might have to be creative with what you're trying to sell, particularly when they're very unique. You can sometimes break them up and do deals differently. That was my point on that one. Anything to add before we actually move on to the topic
of
this pod?
Not for me. Well, just think, for those of you that are still with us and haven't fallen asleep, we are going to talk about something particularly that has come up a couple of times in certainly the mastermind. A couple of members have asked this question. Potential people that are looking to join have asked this question, so it's quite a hot topic at the moment. David, introduce it.
Sorry, we're going to talk about implementation, because I think a lot of the stuff that we talk about, obviously, we've worked hard and been doing this a long time to get to where we are, and things are happening. And obviously, we've got large
we
teams,
have now,
and different areas of the business. So it's quite easy to sort of talk about it. But some people are either well established and struggling to sort of restructure or decide which way they want to go, or they're starting out and they don't know exactly where to focus their time. So I thought it'd be useful, lads, if we just we go into a lot more. We will go into a lot more detail at our mastermind sessions with our TCA members and things like that. We're going to do a planning event, spoiler alert, later in the year at our next mastermind, which will set everybody up for success in 2025. But I think we could just go over, I think, some of the ways we have implemented, some of the decisions that we've had to take. And we've also done quite a lot of trial and error, I would think, a lot of us over the years. So I thought it'd be useful just to have a look at what we're doing, but more so how it's come to be. Because I think what you'll tend to find is, like, from my point of view, one thing I struggled with for a long time was that I was doing a lot of sort of day-to-day tasks that I should not be doing. You know, you start off the business and you're in a growth mindset. That's all you do, because you've got the phones don't ring, you've got no business, and your only way to be a success is to go and knock on doors, send letters. At the time when I was starting, the instant valuation tools had just come out and they were brilliant for us to get going, certainly on the low to mid-range stuff. So all I was doing is I was out door knocking, I was doing loads of direct mail, leaflet dropping, instant valuation tools, hustling basically day to day. And it got us to a certain stage quite quickly. Like we from the outside looking in, obviously I've spoken about this in the past, everybody thought they must be flying, because we had loads of instructions, obviously at 999 fees, but we won't go there again. We had loads of instructions. We all of a sudden then became busy, very, very busy. And I didn't have enough staff to cope, or team members rather. Sorry, Aidan, if you're listening. I didn't have enough team members to help us grow and cope, and it was really hard and stressful. So you had to I'd sit down and have a look at where the recruitment needed to be and bring in the right people. And then you get to a certain point and it's very hard to let go of certain tasks because you feel like you want to control everything. So like valuations, for example, are a massive thing. You know, no one can value as well as you do. So you don't want to, you're scared to let that go because you're representing your brand. You think you can convert better, you can get better fees, etc. So it's really hard to let go of those. Viewings, why would you want to let go of viewings? Again, you're representing your brand, and there's house to sell opportunities every time you go to a viewing. So I'm going to do all the viewings. And then I'm going to negotiate all the offers because nobody can negotiate better than me. And then all of a sudden you're like, right, okay, so the accounts need doing. And I need to book this viewing. And I forgot, I need to do all the AML. And then before you know it, you're doing all the sort of minimum wage tasks, if you like, and your growth element of your business stops. And then all of a sudden you're thinking, oh no, where's the next 10 valuations coming from? Where are my next sales? And you're sort of fighting a losing battle. And I think a lot of people struggle to sort of put in that structure so that they've got a constant stream of valuations, they've got a constant stream of instructions, and they then don't have people the right bums on the right seats to cope with what they've got necessarily. And then maybe they'll over recruit and then struggle with overheads and cash flow because they're having to keep paying out, but they've not got the sales coming in. So have they got a proper sales strategy set up? So I just thought it'd be quite useful to not so much go all the way back, but just touch on a few things that we've done over the years that have helped. And for complete transparency, you know, my structure has needed to change in the last 12 to 18 months significantly because I have done a lot of all things to all people type tasks. But we're very much on the right path now. Just recently recruited somebody on lettings full time, and she's fantastic. We've got a great team, we really do, and we're looking to expand more now. But it takes time to get there, and what it also does is takes balls to let go of some of the things that you don't want to let go of. And I spoke to a couple of members in the last couple of weeks who are really struggling to let go of viewings and things like that when, really, you really need to. Because as a business owner, you need to be in a growth mindset 24/7. You need to be front end that business growing all the time. I know that there'll be a time where you want to take a step back and let things run for a lot of people, be a well-oiled machine, but it takes time to get there. And ultimately, you need to be in a growth mindset as much as possible. You need to try and get away from the admin and the day-to-day needs and the operations side. So I just thought it'd be good, lads, to chat about that. So let's pass over. Who wants to start? Who's got something?
So one thing I was going to say, Story mentioned it this morning. You know, he knows people that still do their own floor plans. You know, 4 years ago or 3 years ago, I used to do a lot of the photography in house. 3-4 years ago, maybe it's a bit longer than that actually. But I used to do a lot of the photography in house. So I would do the photos, I would do the floor plans, I would do the descriptions. I would literally, I was pretty much a property photographer / copywriter. You know, and you end up, you know, Dennis Waterman sing the theme tune, write the theme tune. Then you don't end up, you know, actually growing the business. You just end up getting stuck in a rut. And, you know, so, you know, it's all good as sitting here saying that, but what does this look like and how is it actionable? So the first thing you can do, if you're one of those people that are doing their own floor plans, the first thing you can do, and Ian, you've always been right at the forefront of this, and that's outsource it. Outsource it straight away. You know, EPC and floor plan. If you've got niche communications near you, they're a great example of that. You know, get them out to do the EPC and floor plan. You can even charge it to the client. We charge it to the client a lot of the time. Get the client to do the EPC and the floor plan. Yeah,
clients don't bat an eye with the EPC. What we used to do before I had Stories was we used to charge them for the EPC, but it also included the floor plan. But we didn't tell them they were paying for the floor plan. Now I just don't do it that way anymore. We pay for the floor plan, they pay for the EPC, because I think our fee, they shouldn't be paying for the floor plan because we keep it if they change agents anyway. But nevertheless, so you're quite right with EPCs and floor plans. I mean, it's bonkers. If anyone's still in their own floor plan, it's completely bonkers, isn't it? Because if that takes an hour walking around the house or half an hour and another hour editing it, that is so much time that you could be prospecting for new business or doing evaluation or all those. We call them low dollar tasks, don't we, JK? You know, they're all low dollar tasks and they should be outsourced immediately to free up your time. Another thing that we outsourced at Stories was sales progression early on, because I am not the right person to do that. I have stepped in, and we all step in, don't we, if we need to on the odd sale to tell the client what they don't want to hear. But nevertheless, you're the wrong person to be checking the solicitors have ordered the searches and checking the surveys been booked and all that sort of stuff. You can outsource very early on, I think. Very early. Of course, be careful who you outsource it to. And we changed quite a bit early on, but we had someone who was good for quite a while. This lady, one-man band lady, not Michelle, different lady who used to do it for us, and she only got paid when it completed. So for me, outsourcing that was fine because I wasn't paying her anyway until it completed. You have to be careful who you outsource that to. You're quite right. I also think that letters and socials, so certainly letters you can outsource. I mean, I don't see our not on the market letters. I don't see them. Obviously, we've got Aidan, who's ops manager, who organises it all. But in terms of me owning the business, I don't see them at all. They get once we've written it, I don't see it at all, and it goes out every quarter to 5,000 people. So that's something you can definitely outsource. I think social media. I used to do all the social media early on. A lot of that was on my personal page. Brilliant. I don't really do much now at all because we've got the stories page to the stage where it doesn't need my input as much. So I think there's an awful lot of things that you can be outsourcing early on that really don't cost a huge amount of money to free you up more time.
Yeah, I think in a lot of people's heads, it's more it's getting their head around that and thinking, but it's like the letters. Like, so when we do 7,500 every quarter, the thought of handwriting 7,500 letters, hand stamping, not franking 7,500 letters, and then writing a letter and stuffing them. It's just mind-boggling for a lot of people, and I would be lying if I didn't say it was a challenge. You know, it has been, but we have a system, and we, as you know, lads, ours is in-house. We just have a system where people know what they have to do on a day-to-day basis, and it gets done. So the implementation sometimes, I think, is a mindset. It's a mind block. You know, there's a lot to do on a day-to-day basis, but it's kind of trying to channel your priorities channel your time in the right areas. So like just there, we were talking about social media and things like that. That really, from day one, no matter what stage you're at now, you should be focusing some of your day on social media. You should if you've not got somebody like Ian has, and I'm fortunate to have now, and I think you're the same, JK, but people posting for you on social media, we weren't at that level. It was all me posting for 2 different companies, and then on my personal pages. So of course it takes time, but you perhaps just need to block time out in your diary once a day, just for half an hour, to put some posts on. And the post doesn't have to be anything incredible. It could just be a really easy Facebook Live. It could be a quick video. It could just be a written post about something that's happened in the market. But the key to it is that you should do it and then share it to all the local groups. And if you're confident enough to put your face on camera, I promise you wholeheartedly, it is the biggest hack to getting noticed, because you might not get lots and lots of likes and shares initially, but I promise you people are watching, people see it. So you've just got to find time to do that. If you're not in a position where you can outsource it, do it yourself. You must do it yourself because it's a priority.
Yeah, I mean, I used to do it. Probably part of the reason I'm addicted to my phone now is because of how much of it I used to do like 5 years ago. I was never off my phone. I'd be on a shoot. I mean, to be fair, I still do that now, and I know you two both do too. Like, I'm on a shoot, Mark's working out where we're going to stand next, or Scott is, and I'm on my phone posting something or replying to a client. Or I used to get home from work and just lie in bed. Or I was doing it while me and Alex were watching Netflix, and she'd be telling me off because I wasn't really concentrating. And I was doing it on holiday, get on a plane and be thinking about what can I be posting. I was going to a family dinner party. I've been sneaking off the toilet to get a post on about this house I just launched. Like, I just literally never stopped. And that's definitely the reason I'm partly addicted to my phone now. But that should be absolutely relentless in the early days. Absolutely relentless on social. And obviously the algorithms change and certain things get harder to be seen. And so you need to know what you should be posting and where, but you should definitely be relentless with socials because that's free. I did it free with Facebook, and I know you chaps have done it the same as well. You don't need to spend any money there on social at all.
Yeah. But again, just going back to the point though, Ian, it's kind of like it's being in that growth mindset. So as the business owner or the manager, whatever it is, if you're trying to grow your branch or brand, you've got to be in that growth mindset. So you need to understand what are the key priorities that are going to enable your business to grow and that need your attention. So I would recommend write that down. Forget everything else in day to day. What is going to make your business grow? So for us, we know that by sending 7,500 letters every single quarter, our business is growing. I'm not going to keep going over it because we do it every week. But I've had some amazing feedback from our letters this week. We've talked about sometimes that people have got the bulldog clip with the letters. I've had one this week. He's got all 3. And he actually asked me when the next one comes out and the one after that, so he knows when they're coming because he reads them every quarter.
Yeah.
They do work. And I know that is my biggest return on investment in terms of income to the business. Not necessarily units, as in number of valuations, but from what's been sent, but definitely in terms of what's going to bring in the most revenue. It is my absolute priority. So they have to go out by hook or crook. I need a system to make sure that they go out. Social media is my second biggest source of income. It's where I get noticed the most. I have to have a system to ensure that we are posting regularly on social media. I've found that system. It now involves somebody who does it on my behalf, who's employed by the business, but she does it every single day. In line with one of her other roles. So it gets done without fail because it is an absolute priority. And then the second thing for me is at the moment, I want to be valuing every single higher value home. At the moment, across my 2 brands, for transparency, I am the only valuer. So my time is taken up a lot and I'm going to be in recruitment phase very soon. But regardless, that is where I get a lot of my business and revenue from, certainly looking after the higher value clients. So that is where I spend a lot of my time. And I'm just working back from that. It's just like sort of making sure that, proposals, etc. All that sort of stuff is so important that I do it, and I make sure it gets done.
Yeah, I think one thing I was going to say that I might just resonate with people is what I did when we started Stories was I tried to get rid of as many tasks as possible to avoid having to employ anyone for as long as possible.
Sorry, say that line again.
I delegated, I outsourced as many tasks as possible to avoid having to employ anyone for as long as possible.
Yeah.
Because as soon as you employ someone, you've got responsibilities. Obviously, they quite rightly have got employees' rights. You've got potential issues with grievances, holidays, sickness, all these sorts of things that come with employing people. Obviously, to grow a company, you have to eventually. But certainly when you're starting off, I thought, well, I want to outsource as much as possible. So all I'm doing is listing and selling. So I outsourced sales progression, floor plans, EPCs, letters, and several other things as well to make sure that I didn't have to employ anyone for as long as possible. And then the first hire that I made was someone in the office to do the day-to-day tasks that I didn't want to be doing, which was booking appointments, booking viewing, getting feedback, sending out packs, that sort of thing.
Right. So what you don't want to be doing, and also probably what you're really crap at, Ian, in all fairness, we are, when you're an entrepreneurial business owner, your strength usually is making things happen. I've always said to you and JK, I think you two probably are the two of the biggest implementers I've met in this industry. We'll have a conversation. It's usually me that comes up with the outstanding ideas. You two just listen, but then within days you've implemented them. Jokes aside, joking. But yeah, you two are so good at implementing. You get things done very, very quickly, and I really admire that about you both. But that is naturally, I think, the natural instinct of an entrepreneur or a business owner. They want to get things done and as quickly as possibly can. And you should always be in that growth mindset. And in estate agency, you're quite right. Listing and selling, lead generation, listing and selling. That's where your focus should be. So if you are, and again, I've been guilty of this, doing your own accounts, and you are doing your own administration and AML checks and all that sort of stuff, you're doing the wrong things. And that's the sort of stuff that you need to quickly get off. The other one, which is...
If you are, like you say, you're the wrong person. It's not just about freeing you up to do it. I definitely am. I should not be checking the finer detail of AML and memos and stuff, because I'll miss stuff. I'll definitely miss stuff. That should be done by someone who's a specialist in that kind of field, who's got that kind of brain. That is not me. Yeah. And it won't be most estate agents, because we're not that kind of... We're salespeople, aren't we? We're not process people.
Exactly. And if you relate it back to just estate agency, which is obviously what we do, one of the things that people struggle with is coming off viewings, and again, I still do viewings every now and again, particularly on the higher value stuff, but I now have the two viewing specialists that cover, and it's so important to get away from that. And sometimes, in fact, Ian, I remember being in a mastermind session with you once years ago, and I think you were struggling with it a little bit. I might be wrong, but I'm sure you said at the time, but people expect me, they want me. It's all about how you set up the appointment.
Yeah. However, slight caveat to that, early on, you're quite right. So early on because what I was trying to do quite quickly at Stories is get into selling higher end homes from basically being unknown, sort of 18 months prior, up against Savills, etc. So I sold myself to people. So being in the house at a 1.5, I can actually picture the house, Brookhouse Farm in Kingsley, great house, managed to get in and see the client. He was a jeweler, high end. I remember on the first call when I tried to get in, because he'd viewed one with us, he said, "Why would I sell it with you? I've never heard of you."
Yeah.
So I got in the door and I sold myself to him. He was called Mike, great guy. I play in his golf charity days now. He's a brilliant guy. But I sold myself. So just going back to your point there, Dave, I would have said to Mike, "Well, I'll do it all, Mike. It's me. Yeah. You've got me." So but when you're earlier on, you need to do that, don't you? But as you're growing, you need to divulge that away. Wrong words.
And again, I'll caveat it as well and backtrack a little bit. I was doing everything. So, when I was selling me as the business, it's my business. I'm so passionate about it. Of course, you'll get me. I'll do all your viewings and I'll do all your negotiating. But there comes a time, and I had a conversation with a lady last week. She said, "Right, will you be doing all the viewings?" And I said, "No, I can't do all the viewings, Kathy." And she said, "Oh, right, okay." I said, "But you know most about the house and stuff like that." I said, "Look, don't worry. The viewing specialist that comes will know everything about the house. She's going to come and see you before. You can have all the same conversations with her. You're going to fill out a property information questionnaire, so she'll have all the answers to every single question. She'll know all about the planning permission that you've had at the side. She'll know everything. She'll have our video. I'm going to talk to her about it. She's been doing the job for years. She's perfect for helping to get this house sold. And it's just, again, it's a little bit like we were talking about before with price realignments and things like that. It's about setting the expectations for the client so that they know exactly what's going to be happening.
Yeah.
But that's one of the hard things for a lot of people, particularly when they're self-employed or when they are running a business and trying to grow. They think that they should be attending viewings. But if you're on a viewing day and spending 2 or 3 hours at different houses and traveling around, that's 2 or 3 hours where you could have been prospecting for business or setting up lead generation for your letters. So for me, one of the big things is to understand where you sit and what your role is and what your strengths are. And you map out how that looks on a day-to-day basis, map out your week. But you've really got to make sure that the main tasks get done. And for me, like I say, I look at the biggest income streams for us, and direct mail, without fail, it gets done. Social media, without fail, it gets done. Those are the two biggest things for me. And then there's obviously lots of other things in between, but those are the two big ones that if they don't happen, it could have a huge knock-on effect to our business.
Yeah. And until you do it, you don't know, do you? But certainly in the earlier days that I started sending letters en masse, there was definitely a few times when I didn't do it because we didn't have all the envelopes ready, or I missed a quarter because I didn't get much off the previous quarter. But as soon as you've been doing it consistently for 2-3 years, like we have now, you couldn't imagine not getting the letters out and getting the valuations out. Could you? I mean, that would just be a huge dent. And the amount of people you go to, I went to one yesterday, £1 million house, nice, desirable village, been getting the letters. His words to me on the val, we'll definitely be selling it with you. You send me a letter each quarter. I can tell how keen you are. I said, yeah, I'm very, very keen, Joe. Very, very keen. And he loves, you stand out, don't you? So those sorts of things, you've got to make them happen. And doing it yourself to that volume is very difficult to do. So outsourcing it is key, unless you've got a team that can do it for you.
Yeah. I think just going right back to the beginning when we were talking about photography and stuff like that. So this is another one. So again, transparency. Back in the day, we bought all the camera equipment and we used to take our own photographs and do our own floor plans. And they were good. We learned how to use the cameras and stuff like that. So our photographs were always good, but they weren't professional. Like you can see an enormous difference between what a professional does and what we were able to do back in the day. Now, not only was that an incredibly time-consuming task, because the take on at the property required a lot more of my time, going around taking all the photos and then making a video, and then going back and editing those photos and uploading them, etc., etc. But what you risk doing there is damaging your brand. So your short-term mindset is to save a little bit of money because you can handle a camera and you can go around and take your own photographs. And yeah, of course, it might sell. You might sell a £350,000 house. You might sell a £1 million house taking your own photographs. But what you are doing is putting out an inferior product. Doesn't matter how you look at it. Even if you're an incredible photographer in your part-time, it is not the best use of your time, without a doubt. For the cost of photography these days, you need to outsource it and get somebody in there doing it and doing it properly. Because all it will do is have a knock-on effect with your brand. You'll go on. People will go onto your website. They'll see that you've got inconsistencies. Some will be good photos. Some will be crap photos. Some will be average.
Yeah,
photos.
and I mean, there's so much more we can talk about, isn't there, all the time, really? But talking about consistency, the photography is key. So using a photographer, ideally the same one, so there's the same level of quality all the way through. But then you've got to be consistent in the way the house is presented as well, haven't you? So. I know other agents who shall remain nameless who have a reputation for selling nice properties. They slip, they slip on their styling because they've not got the process in place. Yeah. And that's where having the right team and getting the right people, like we have Vicky, I know that I can turn up at a shoot and it's ready. So I can be at a shoot for 45 minutes instead of 4 hours. So therefore I can get another valuation in that time, which could be a 15 grand fee.
Yeah.
So absolutely. Passing the work on and getting the right people doing the right jobs in your business is absolutely vital to do. Having said that, at the start, I did it all, as you did, Dave. So when we started doing the styling, I would get there with the photographer and be arranging the room to make sure it was absolutely perfect. So we always had consistency. It was just me doing it earlier on, and then as you grow, you pass these jobs on to other people who are probably better than you.
100%. I mean, to be honest, as we're talking now, this could be a 2-hour-long podcast because implementation starts from the very, very beginning. and being the same on every single one. But I think that is the key to when you're starting out. You need to be consistent with your offering, but then you need to understand where your time is best spent, and then you need to make sure you're only in that. And like you said, Ian, right at the beginning, if you do have to do viewings, etc., you need to find a way to get off them as quick as you possibly can and remain in that growth mindset. Because once you step out of that, initially you'll only be in a growth mindset because that's all you've got.
Yeah.
But then at some point you'll get a load of hoses, you'll get busy, and then you'll find yourself doing all the operations tasks and the admin day-to-day stuff. You'll find it hard to get out of that. But once you've completed it, you then be short on listings, short on lead generation, and you have to do all that, and you're backtracking. So it's really important that you find...
Can I just say I completely agree with everything you just said for the last 10 minutes?
Yeah, for those obviously not watching the podcast, James Kendall just disappeared for the last 15 minutes. And it's now time to end the podcast, JK. But listen, excellent, lads, as always, it's been a pleasure. Thanks, everybody, for listening. We have got our TCA Mastermind in December. So it's a couple of months away, but it's going to be a really key one. Why is it going to be a key one, JK?
Because that's where we're going to be planning discussion for the next year, making sure we set everyone up for success and start as we mean to go on. I think it's one of the most crucial masterminds of the year. Really kind of gear yourself up, and we're basically going to give you the toolkit for growth for the next 12 months and put the plan in place so you know exactly what you need to do, when you need to do it, and what that will look like.
Absolutely. I'm very excited about that.
We've had 2 or 3 new members, haven't we, in the last week or so, which is exciting to see. So if we can help, if you think we can help you, then we would love to. And just to remind everyone, all of our members have postcode exclusivity. So when we sit in the room, when we're on the Zooms or on the WhatsApps, everyone can talk freely because no one's competing with each other. And we'd love to show you how we've got our businesses to where we are now, but by removing the trial and error. So get in touch. We'd love to help.
Right, guys, pleasure to see you both. For everyone listening, thanks for tuning in, and we'll see you next week.
See you next week.
Bye.